Hi guys, Derek here for the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. We have a great video for you. Be sure to click the like and subscribe buttons. Enjoy. Alrighty, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Very, very excited for this one. We've got a couple of guests joining us. The special guests of Justin and Perry from Clock Management. They're here, and I am joined, as always, by your co-host, Kevin. We've got Alex on a little bit of travel this week, but guys, Clock Management is in the house. Perry, Justin, how we doing, guys?
Doing fantastic, man. Really happy you asked us to be on.
Yeah,
should be
super
fun.
Excited. Yeah. Thanks for having us on. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure, guys.
So we've been listening to some of the podcasts, obviously checking out the content, whether it's on Twitter or, the socials, everywhere else. But I guess kind of give us the rundown. How did you guys first meet, and how did Clock Management kind of come to be?
You want to take it? Go. No, okay. Yeah, no, Justin and I have known each other since, I was probably like 7 years old when we met.
Yeah.
Justin was friends with my older brother, and I just kind of followed them around everywhere. And then I stole all my brother's friends, so they're mine now. But yeah, and then we've just been friends forever, played fantasy football for 10 years plus now. And Justin and I have talked about doing a podcast for a long time, and just last year just decided, let's just do it, man. What are we waiting for?
Yeah,
and
we actually said we were going to do it 2 years ago, and then we just never did it.
Yeah. But it's been a lot of fun, like a big learning experience, as I'm sure you guys are figuring out. A lot of work. It looks like there's not a lot of work, or it sounds like there's not a lot of work if you're not watching and you're only listening, but there's a lot that goes into it. Justin puts in a ton of time and effort on the social media, like you mentioned, and yeah, it's fun though.
When we first talked about it, I was like, man, I love talking about football. I could do that all the time.
Yeah, that'll be easy.
That's too easy.
Yeah.
That conversation sounds familiar, doesn't it, Derek?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything else that encompasses it, though, is not as easy.
Yeah. But it's fun, yeah. So we've been doing the show for almost a year now. Have no intention of slowing down, only speeding up, and we got a pretty decent following, and it's been a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, if you guys have not had a chance to check out their show, the Clock Management Show, it is absolutely fantastic. Typically, the episodes drop on Saturdays, from what I've been seeing, and it is a must download for me. So if you guys have not checked it out, make sure that you do that. It is worth a listen. But guys, besides having some podcasts drop on Saturday nights, what else have you got in the works? What else are you guys working on? What's new and exciting for the Clock Management crew?
Oh, man. Well, we're getting ready to do our actually sleeper episode coming up, and then we're getting into our draft stuff, just prepping for this draft and talking about these rookie players and just gearing up for the season. Because once the draft happens, it's going to start getting faster and faster. Everything just starts happening. So we're just getting ready to do that, and we do our monthly giveaways. So we give away an autographed jersey every month. So we got that going on right now too, with a Ricky Williams jersey.
Yeah, excited about that giveaway. And then we just got some guests that we're trying to schedule, get on our show, a lot like this. And yeah, other than that, man, it's just kind of figuring out how we want to structure the show for next season.
And then we'll be moving back up to 2 episodes a week once the season gets close to kicking off.
So with putting in all the work, right? There's the behind the camera work. That's the really taxing part, right? The crunching numbers and doing your analysis and film study and rankings and show notes, right? To determine how the season's going to go. Like I said, what's your favorite part about it, though?
Personally, Justin and I, because we know each other so well, we have really good back and forth. So for me, I get a lot more energy as soon as we start the episode, and just talking and joking and teasing each other and that sort of thing. The camaraderie is really, really fun. So that's probably my favorite part. Second would be doing the write-ups on players. It's really fun to deep dive that, and kind of Justin and I don't really talk about what we're gonna say about players before we get on the show, actually. So it's, I mean, our reactions to what each other are saying are pretty unique. Like, they're genuine. A lot of times he says something and I'm like, dude, that is wrong. You are so wrong.
No, but I appreciate that. We have a similar, format between kind of how we run ours, and I feel like it makes for better content. And obviously you guys do the same. If you can have a real reaction to what someone's take is and have that natural banter back and forth, it's like sitting down with your buddy on the couch or at the bar or wherever you're at, and you're shooting the breeze back and forth, as opposed to, you come across some of these podcasts that you can tell are entirely scripted, and they're just dry, man. They have good numbers and content, but you don't feel connected with the show in any way. You can just kind of tell that they've rehearsed this almost, and they know what's coming, and they know what's right around the corner. It just kind of takes the element of surprise out of it.
A perfect example of that is if you go back and watch Clock Management episode 1.
Yeah.
I literally scripted the entire episode. And
Did you?
Because I was so I got so into it. I'm like, let me just get into this and do it, and I did everything. And then afterwards, me and Perry reevaluated it, and we're like, that is not the way to do this.
Yeah.
Hey, quick learners though, right?
Yeah, there's very little script involved in our episodes. It's just
it's crazy.
There's talking points, and that's it.
Yeah, we're from this whole script to just this is what we're talking. This is our subject, and for example, our last episode was bus, and I think about 5 minutes before we started the episode, Perry was like, wait, what players did you put on there, so we know we didn't do the same players?
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I really do. It's very genuine. You guys can tell as you're watching the podcast, and like Derek said earlier, for those listening or watching on YouTube, if you haven't checked out the Clock Management episodes, you need to get subscribed. You need to check it out, because it's genuine, it's back and forth, and the information's impeccable. It's right on top of where it should be, and they'll help you lead to championships here down the road coming in 2020.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. So guys, where can the listeners connect with you and learn a little bit more about you online? And kind of a follow-up on that as well, how can they be entered to win that Ricky Williams jersey?
Oh,
that's Justin's department there.
So for the Ricky Williams jersey, super easy. Just subscribe to us on YouTube and then leave a comment on any of our videos this month. And then we'll give it away at the end of the month to one of the commenters. The social media, we are everywhere. The best place to get to talk to us and interact with us is Twitter. I'm on there like crazy. I've really been focusing more on our Instagram as well to get that going. We also have a Facebook page, TikTok, which I do not check either one of those as often as I should, but they exist. So if that's your guys' thing, I'm there for you.
Yeah. And if you have a more long form question or topic, you can email us. You can find our email on our YouTube channel. It's on there. Shoot us an email, whether it's a question about a topic on the show or if you just want to get in touch with us about something. Yeah.
Or just ask how our day's going, We appreciate it.
I'm a person.
I have feelings too.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, we'll kind of dive into the fantasy perspectives. You guys said that your next episode is the sleeper, so I'm going to stay away from that one. But I am going to ask you, who do you guys have as kind of a big bust coming up in the 2020 season?
I'll kick it off. I've got one that's really controversial. I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this one, and I'm not even totally comfortable saying it because I'm not quite sure yet. But the big one for me is Joe Mixon. I think Joe Mixon right now is getting hyped up big time. I think last season he did well, right? He did just fine. He was serviceable, but I mean, he only finished the season with 1,137 yards and 5 touchdowns. He's still on a terrible team. He's not Saquon Barkley, right? Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey are two guys that we can accept being on really terrible teams, but still able to perform very well. Cincinnati's not going to be incredible, right? They're probably going to get Joe Burrow. We're all expecting that. But is Joe Burrow going to go fix the Cincinnati Bengals in his first year? I doubt it. I highly doubt it. He would have to have the best season a rookie quarterback has ever had in over 20 years in order for him to be as good as Matt Ryan was last year, right? And Matt Ryan wasn't incredible last year. So I just think that Joe Mixon probably is going to have a similar season to what he had last year, but he's currently being drafted in the first round. And I'm not willing to take that risk. And if you're going to take him in the first round, you expect him to be the anchor for your team. I don't think Joe Mixon's that guy.
Yeah.
See, I actually took Joe Mixon earlier today, first round, in a dynasty draft there.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Hopefully I'm wrong.
I will say dynasty is probably better for him just because the quarterback situation on their team should get better there, and he's young enough to where he can endure that. So, there's that.
That's all right. So far, I feel all right. I got Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon. I think we'll be all right long-term running back there.
That's good. Yeah, Josh Jacobs is a great pick in Dynasty. Love Josh Jacobs.
Absolutely. I got Amari Cooper here. I talked about him on our show a little bit and on our last episode, but like Amari Cooper, he's currently the wide receiver 8 in consensus rankings, and being drafted in the second round. And that means he's probably going to be your number 1 wide receiver on your team. And even if he does, he may even live up to this wide receiver 8, which I don't think he will. But if he does, it's going to be in 2 or 3 games that he gets you those points. And then he's going to disappear multiple other games. He's not the type of receiver you want going into the playoffs of a fantasy season, because he's going to vanish one week and then you're just going to lose that game and be out of the playoffs. So that's why I don't like him. And then also he still has health concerns that a lot of people forget about, because he did have a pretty healthy season last year, but it was his first one in his entire career. So I'm not sold on Amari Cooper being a wide receiver 1.
They still have to pay him too. So
no.
Yeah, and who knows where he's playing too. Yeah.
I love these guys. I love these guys because you're saying what I've been saying. Yeah, I am not the biggest Joe Mixon fan by any stretch, so I can completely get on board with that. I think his usage and the amount of touches he got last year was a big proponent to why he finished where he did in fantasy. But as soon as they feel confident with Joe Burrow, or even if Andy Dalton happens to start the season because they just get in and Zach Taylor says this guy's just not ready. I don't see that usage being there again. They're not going to turn around and just give him the ball 24 times a game. They are going to try and save some of those legs for when they're relevant again, at least in my opinion. And with Amari Cooper, I completely agree. He is not a wide receiver 1. I don't even know that he's a true wide receiver 1 in the NFL. He runs a good route, but he drops too many balls. He disappears in big games. He does have, it's like the mini Julio version, right? Julio wasn't scoring touchdowns for a lot of years, but he'd have some of these monster yardage games that would make up all these fantasy points for him not scoring these touchdowns, and he'd still finish in the top 5. Now, Amari's kind of that junior version of. He'll get the touchdowns. He'll have, like you said, a couple big games, but he does disappear a lot. I can support that 100%. You guys have my stamp of approval. I don't care what anybody else says.
Yeah. Joe Mixon also had single-digit carries in almost 3 games last season. He had a game with 10 carries. So, yeah, he got all that work at the end of the season. The beginning of the season was nothing. So,
yeah, that's all right. People remember. So,
that's all right. I believe in the talent. I've been watching him ever since he was at Oklahoma. So, maybe a little bit of Oklahoma bias, and anybody that's listened to this show knows that I've got an abundance of that. So. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, that'll wrap up another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Special thank you to both Justin and Perry from the Clock Management crew coming on and chatting with us. That was an absolute blast. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button and leave us a rating on wherever you listen to this podcast.